Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Okay, would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the September 15th meeting of Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Lorain has the dog for today.
He's so cute. I almost stepped on him, so little. Hi, little guy. Come on over here, sit down. Well, today, a non-listening little beagle got a little mind of its own. He's really sweet. He's at our dog kennel, and he will be available on Saturday after 3 o'clock. Where are you at? Come on over here. How are we at the kennel? Are we full? We got lots of dogs to pick from? A little bit of room. And this Saturday, don't forget, is the Doggy Do in Oberlin. Myself and Sherry will be judges for all kinds of contests, cutest dog, dancing dogs, talented dogs, all kinds of different categories. So if you have a dog that you think is interesting and fun and smart, bring it down to Oberlin. I think it starts at, what, 12 o'clock? Or 11 o'clock? 12 o'clock. So be there and then come down to our dog kennel and pick them up on Saturday. If not, we've got plenty to pick from.
A thought for today: a good deed is never lost. He or she who sows courtesy reaps friendship. He or she who plants kindness gathers love. I love my fellow commissioners.
I thought no good deed ever goes unpunished.
Yeah, right. Oh, up here it doesn't. Let's see, we have a couple of recognitions.
Did you want to read it? Brenda Brock from Golden Acres. She has a 20-year pin. She's not here?
No.
Are you going to accept it for her?
I am.
Okay.
And I'd like to say a few things.
Okay.
Brenda wanted to come. In fact, she was on vacation and she still wanted to come. But on my way over, she called and she has a serious illness in her family, so she can't. But Brenda's been a dedicated employee at Golden Acres for 20 years. She is the morning cook. She's there at 5:30 putting the coffee on, serving tasty meals and making sure they're presented well. She also has a great reputation with her coworkers and with management, and you can't ask her anything more than that. So I'd like to accept this award for Brenda, and she'll be so pleased to get it.
And that's Jerry Dull, our director, speaking on behalf of Golden Acres. And we thank you this morning, Jerry. I think Lori has the pen.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, our next is a proclamation declaring 2010 as National Preparedness Month.
Oh, I'm doing this
Commissioner
one?
Tagle? Yes, you are.
Okay. So we're going to do both of these one after the other. We're going to bring Alice up right now.
And then I'm going to do the next one.
You're going to do the next one?
I'm going. We're reversing the order.
Okay, all right,
Sorry.
Commissioner, not a problem. Proclamation in the matter of declaring September 2010 as National Preparedness Month in Lorain County, Ohio, whereas the U.S. Department of Homeland Security has declared September as National Preparedness Month, a nationwide effort held to encourage Americans to prepare for emergencies in their homes, businesses, and schools. And whereas the goal of National Preparedness Month is to increase public awareness about the importance of preparing for emergencies and encourage individuals to take action. Whereas National Preparedness Month brings together an amazing coalition of partners to make citizen preparedness a priority for every city, every neighborhood, and every home across America. Homeland security is a shared responsibility. This month will provide Americans with a variety of opportunities to learn more about ways they can prepare for an emergency, get an emergency supply kit, establish a family communications plan, and become better aware of threats that may impact communities. It will also provide them with several opportunities to volunteer or get first aid or CPR training. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lorain County Board of Commissioners hereby join in declaring the month of September as National Preparedness Month in Lorain County, Ohio, and urge all residents of Lorain County to learn how to be ready for the unexpected. Lorain County Commissioners Betty Blair, Ted Kalo, and Lori Kukowski.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is National Preparedness Month, September, and during this month we do several different things to prepare our citizens, and I have a couple of flyers in the back of the room announcing these events. The first one is September 18th, this Saturday. We're all excited about it. We tried to do this last year and it didn't fall through, so we are doing it this year. It's Family Preparedness Day in the Park from 1 to 3 at the Metro Parks Carlisle Visitor Center. Radio Disney is going to be there doing a road show. They bring a crew out and they play all kinds of games and prizes and things for the kids and the family. And it's geared towards family preparedness, so I don't know what kind of gifts, they haven't really told us, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. We have a lot of other events taking place along with that. We have face painting. Metro Parks is going to do a bird program. The bomb squad's going to be there with the robot. Life Care is going to have Andy the ambulance there, and we're going to have our command truck, and there's also going to be the fire safety trailer there that teaches kids how to get out of a house safe. So, and Red Cross will be there also with hot dogs and chips. So please come out, tell your family and friends. We hope to have a really good turnout. Again, that's 1 to 3. The next event that I'd like to mention is going to be held September 25th, and that's at Lorain Community College from 8 to 12:30. It says 7:30 here on the flyer, but that's just, registration and everything. The program will start at 8. We have been able to get a wonderful speaker from California. Her name's Anna Marie Jones, and she works with collaborating agencies responding to disasters. And what she is going to speak on is family preparedness and community safety. And she does it in a positive, upbeat way. And she spoke in Texas last year for a group of the health department personnel that went, and they said she had a standing ovation, and that she was just a wonderful speaker and that we needed to have her here. So we were able to get her here through Homeland Security grant that we received this year. So we're all excited about this event. This is for our volunteers. We have a wonderful group of volunteers here. Our Community Emergency Response Team, which has over 125 people right now, and then the Medical Reserve Corps volunteer group that has over 100 personnel that helped during disasters. They helped last week during our disaster drill that we had. So we want to take this time and show them that we appreciate them, and also to train them on different things. So please pick up a flyer. You guys have one in front, and we hope that everyone can come out to hear the speaker and enjoy the day with us.
Did I hear there's a family preparedness kit?
There isn't one that we're going to be giving out, but every family should have one. It's a 72-hour kit, which means that it may be up to 3 days before any kind of a emergency responder could get to families. So we promote that you have bottled water, canned foods, toys for the kids, a radio, flashlight, things like that with extra batteries that you can have in a container easily to grab to take to your shelter if there was a tornado or something like that, or if we were going to evacuate you because we had a hazardous chemical spill or something. You could grab all your essential supplies and take it with you, and you wouldn't have to medications and things like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alice.
Thank you.
Don't forget to pick up your proclamation.
Oh, thanks. I would have known.
Well, we want you to have it. Thank you. And the next proclamation is National RCND Week, and Christina Nardzek is here from our Community Development Department. Christine, if you want to come forward, please. This is it says, whereas the Western Reserve RCND, which stands for Resource Western Reserve Resource Conservation and Development Council is a nonprofit organization that serves Lorain and 8 other counties in Northeast Ohio. And whereas the Western RC&D was formed in 1992 and received federal funded authorization from the U.S. Department of Agricultural National Resources Conservation Service in 2001, and whereas the Western RC&D Council is comprised of county commissioners, soil and water conservation district supervisors, and members at large from the Northeast Ohio counties of Ashtabula, Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake Lorain, Medina, Portage, Summit, and Trumbull. And whereas the RC&D program brings together those governments named above as well as other governments, businesses, civic partners, and hundreds of volunteers to leverage funding at an average of 5-to-1 ratio for every federal dollar received. And whereas the Western RC&D operates with a very low dues commitment from member counties and has received millions of dollars in federal, state, and private grant funding to serve communities in Ashtabula County and throughout Northeast Ohio with projects relating to water quality protection, erosion control, farmland preservation, controlling urban sprawl, conservation of sensitive lands, job creation, environmental education, business retention and growth, and the promotion of agriculture as an industry. Now therefore it be resolved, Lorain County Board of Commissioners declare the week of September 19th to the 25th as National RC&D Week. And perhaps you'd like to tell us a little bit about your involvement with the RC&D, Christina?
Well, Betty, thank you. I've been acting as your liaison with Western Reserve RC&D since January. I can honestly say that this is a great group of people. They've done some wonderful things out here and been instrumental in promoting and helping that in Lorain County. I don't really have any words prepared, so I apologize. I just ran out from a meeting myself.
We know that, and thank you.
But we thank you very much, and we're very appreciative of the work that the commissioners have been doing with Western Reserve RC&D, and hopefully we can continue to form strong partnerships and work towards better water quality in the future.
And keep that river clean, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Christina. You have a good day. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, you're on. Or are we doing 9:45?
If you'd like to do that now, he's
Yep.
here.
I think it's time for Mr. Nabokowski. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ron.
Well, I'm here, we've sent a letter asking for you to enter into an agreement with Visit Lorain County for an office, a boutique title office on Route 58 in Amherst Township. I think the important things, the important drivers are, we're doing this for customer convenience. The legislature finally last year passed the title fee increase, which weighs heavily on working class people and lower economic class people. It is a $15 charge for casual titles, that is titles that do not go through process that are not financed. If you buy a car before and after the title fee increase and you finance it, the fee is the same, $15. If you buy one from your neighbor, the fee went from $5 to $15, so it was a big, enormous increase. I think it's adding insult to injury to have those people from out in the western part of the county have to come all the way into Lorain when we could provide that title, that service for them, at least save them gasoline, et cetera, on Route 58. The other two reasons, the drivers for it, run to relieve pressure. We're digitizing titles now. We should have some space in a few years because we will no longer have to keep all the paperwork. And every amount of paperwork for a title is 15 pages or so. We digitize it, and that process is creating a problem downstairs in our main room. I guess you could give us more room, but we're kind of falling over each other. This will relieve some of that pressure. And thirdly, it will increase our revenues available for the general fund. We have great visibility at that location. They have an electronic sign, and Route 58 has a good traffic count. So we expect it to help us promote particularly our passport business, which right now, our passport business, the heaviest places are Avon Lake, Amherst, and Oberlin. I guess that's where the money is. We serve Avon and Avon Lake with the North Ridgeville office, and it's been very profitable for us. In fact, North Ridgeville does more titles than the other two offices combined. We think the people, other than that, Oberlin is our next biggest, and Amherst does an awful lot of title business. We think we can increase that. You know, we'll compete with the post offices who don't like to do this, and we love to do it. We've been very aggressive. I sent you a check with the or sent the request that you transfer $250,000 from the title fund to the general fund. That money was $168,000 of it was title fees from the increase, and $81,000 of it was from passport and LDR fees. Passports and LDRs are two titles that are not mandated services by the Title Bureau. We do them. We did them originally so we couldn't avoid laying off people. And now we're doing them to help the general fund avoid laying off people. So I would point out that this just takes us back to 4 offices, which we had 4 offices before I closed the Broad Street office, when the title fund really got into a lot of trouble. And the number of people that we'll have with this office is about 1 less than we had in 1990. So I think we're down to 17 people, and we had 18 back then. So it looks like a good deal, and again, we'll hopefully be able to generate another $250,000 of you before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year, huh?
I'm hoping.
You're going to give that to us, huh?
Well, no, I wouldn't spend that money. I wouldn't count on it.
Well, then,
We
you
can
know
give you
that.
some. I'm certain we'll give you some money before the end of the year. I'm hoping we can do another $250,000. It's just nice to do those round numbers. I like them.
So do we.
Ron, you're going to pick up total expenses, though, for this?
Yes. And again, I would point out we repaid all the expenses that we had on North Ridgeville. So I'm a pretty good risk.
Well, the $250,000 that you're talking about was the first time I think the general fund's gotten any money since like 2002.
Yeah, you've got to understand. I think everybody has to understand that that the 1993 was the last time was when they established this fund, this separate title fund, and they funded title offices because county commissioners, I used to be one, get a lot of trouble when the budgets got tough. Title bureaus always got cut, and the lines went out the door. And legislators just got angry and got fed up with having phone calls and letters from angry people, so they set up a separate fund. So when you set up a separate fund and you set it fee certain, you set it based on what your expenses are and what they're expected to be for the next couple of years, I guess. So for the first 4 or 5, 6 years, you're going to run surpluses. We will run surpluses for a while. You'll have some money for us for a while. But as your people continue to get raises and the cost of Blue Cross continues to go up and all these other things, the number of cars you sell doesn't go up and the fee doesn't stay there. So from 93 until 2003, 2004, we were all right. In fact, I gave you some money in 2004. 2005, it started to press. 2006, we were in trouble. 2007, we closed an office because because it was so hard that we couldn't maintain it. And so about every 15 years, the legislature finally we've been working on this for 5 years. I mean, my association has been working hard, and we had some help from your association last year. We finally pushed it over the top. So we needed that title increase for a long time. I can't give you every penny. We're going to have to put a little bit of it away just to help us continue to stay. But for the first 4 or 5 years, we should be giving you some money.
So
unless deflation takes hold and you start lowering salaries, in which case,
well,
we'll be able to do it.
You talked about raises. Did your people get raises?
No, my people have not had raises.
Because I know they're working under an expired contract for
yes,
quite a long time.
Yes, they are, yeah. They're still in the same, 3 years now. In the same
3 years of an expired contract?
Yep. It's not us.
Yeah, and I realize that you're not a general fund department, but you do affect our general fund in the fact that you are allowed by law to give us surplus money, which can offset our losses, so that helps us. Do you think this office will increase your revenue, or will it be?
If I didn't think so, I wouldn't do it.
So you're not doing it for convenience, you are doing it to raise revenue?
For convenience. I mean, I would like to have more offices, but you can only do, and the number of people that I have is based on purely and simply on the number of transactions, the number of titles that we do. I mean, one person can only do so many, no matter where they are. Now there's a limit to that. You have to have probably at least 3 people in our office. This office, I'll just take 1 person from my other 3 offices and form it. We'll be fine. We think, though, that the ability, we'll pick up some additional title business from Erie and Huron counties, and we'll pick up much additional passport business, we're pretty sure. We attempted to get limited authority deputy registrar from the registrar, and she refused to grant it. She said they were already taking care of the people in Amherst. Well, maybe they are the people in Amherst. That was one of the offices that was written up recently in the newspaper is not having great customer service. We could give the counties of the state of Ohio about approximately $22 million, we calculate, if the legislature would just allow the clerks to be deputy registrars and get rid of this pseudo-capitalist thing that they've got going where they appoint people all over the state. In Lorain County, we figure if we took over for the deputy registrars, we could give you about $700,000 a year.
Well, we attempted
General
it a
fund could
couple
use that.
years ago with the auditor's office, didn't we?
Yeah, we tried to do something with the auditor's office, and you know, although he scored the same number of points as the person who had it, he lost it, I guess, because they already had it. I was going to run it for him, but he was going to, because the law allowed them to do it.
Correct.
I think the law would still allow the registrar to appoint me. But what we really need to do is just, you know, people go, I get calls, Joe Kazura, a very knowledgeable legislator who's about to be one of you, called me once on a complaint that he got from a constituent, but it's at the deputy registrars. They pay people minimum wage or as little as they have to, and basically. They have a lot of turnover. You know, we don't have turnover, and we have an elected official who really does not like bad customer service because it loses him votes. So I think we have a very good customer service. We work at it really hard. But I get complaints whenever a deputy registrar somewhere screws up. Every clerk does. So we think people are really confused. If you ask the average guy in the street, if you ask the average elected official, if you ask the average assistant prosecutor, I assume they're going to get confused on what we do versus what these deputy registrars do. It's a mess for the public. We think it'd be much, I'm one of those in the Clerks Association who are working to try to get it so that we would do both functions. That would end all of the confusion. That would allow me to do titles in Wellington right now. Wellington, in the 5 offices where they now have deputy registrars, I would do that. Right now, in some of the outlying districts, and in fact, even in Cincinnati, many people are paying not $15 for a title, they're paying $25 for a title, because the deputy registrar will then charge them $10 to take the title, to run the title to the title office and bring it back. They don't get it right then, as they would if they came to me. They get it the next day, but at least they don't have to drive all that way, and if they don't have a car, it makes sense. So, you know, if we could take over, we'd save a lot of people, at least $10 a title. That's, what, 40%? Which those people basically don't need to spend. We'd love to do that, and love to have your support and your association's support in that battle, because there's very little that's positive about the system we have now. The system we have now started off at one time when politics was much different. The party in power, the governor appointed the deputy registrars, and the deputy registrar would kick back is a nice dirty word, I guess, but that's basically what they did to the political parties. So the political party's major source of revenue was the deputy registrars. When Richard Celeste was governor, he put the kibosh in that. Deputy registrars are no longer allowed to contribute to the governor or to the parties, or they have a very limited $100, I think, something like that. So they ended that, but they didn't, you know, they didn't. And when I was in the Transportation Committee in the House Senate, we made them deposit money every single day, because we had one fella from Illyria, a Marsico fella I remember went to jail, we had a fella from Lorain, Eddie, I think his name was, went to jail. You know, we had deputy registrars were taking money all over the place. So this process has been a big mess, and it only existed because the political parties needed it to fund their political campaigns. All that's over. The raison d'etre for this whole mess is gone, and we think the public would be much better off if the places that most people think you get your license plate really did give you the license plate, which would be us.
They just finished a year-long survey about how to upgrade government. Dan Troy was, Lake County Commissioner, was a member of that. Do you know if they gave any consideration to this aspect?
I don't think so. And you know,
that's too bad, because that's something that you know, it's a concrete. Pardon me?
That wasn't in the report. I had an update on it last week. When I was in Columbus.
No, I wish I'd known. I'd have forced myself. And I know Danny.
Other questions or comments, commissioners?
Not at all. I don't have a problem with it. He's going to pick it up and hopefully have increased revenues, so we have some general fund
I want
dollars.
I want some kind of a guarantee, Ron, that you're going to give us money. I'm leaving at the end of the year, and I want some money before I go. I'm serious.
You have my personal word on that, Betty. We'll give you some money. Just don't.
I want 250,000.
You know, the economy is pretty. It's not totally back, but it's much better. Who knows? I mean, I watch CNBC every day. They talk about double dip recessions, et cetera. If that happens again, then we won't be able to give you as much money as I'd like to. But we'll give you at least 6 figures, some kind of 6-figure gift before the end of the year, and probably $250,000
guarantee, Commissioner.
That's a guarantee, $100,000 guarantee there.
Staff-wise, do
Don't
you,
get greedy, Ben.
did you say you already have the staff that you're going to use to staff
Yes.
this?
Yes, we're already
You're not
staffed.
adding any
No.
additional staff?
No.
And it's necessary for us to approve this contract
Lease.
with the Visitors Bureau. Is that correct, Mr. Cortez?
Certainly, Commissioners, you're the one that has to enter into the lease agreement.
Okay, how long is the lease for? Anybody know?
It's, the paperwork's there, I don't.
I think all the technicalities have been worked out. It's just a matter of the board passing a resolution, entering into the contract.
I'm just asking how long the lease is for, though.
Wasn't a long-term lease. I think it's pretty short.
I think we usually do 3 years.
Renewals, I'm sorry.
It can be
It's
for any,
renewable, yeah.
it can be for any term the board chooses. We can just,
30-day cancellation clause, I'm
So we can get out of it. We looked at it and, you know, made sure we can get out of it in case this is a boat anchor and we have to ditch it, we can get out in a few years.
I don't honestly
I can't
see
under
any
pressure.
potential fight with the Visitors Bureau down the road if it
No.
doesn't work
That was the
out.
other point, you know, you were guarantors of their bonds, et cetera, so we're gonna make this thing, they've got an empty office right now, it's a little hard for them to make their bond payments.
Yes, it is, and it'll be
We'll
good
help
for
'em out.
It
everybody.
does state in this 3-year commencing on and ending on 2/13, so 2013, 2013, so.
You can do 3 years, you can do a year with renewables, you can,
I would like to do a year with renewables to guarantee that 6-figure every year.
I think that's a good
Well, the
negotiation.
issue being, though, is it
Please, we've
doesn't apply to
negotiated this with
build-out.
them already, so
Pardon
don't,
me?
please don't change any terms. We've negotiated this with terms that took 2 months of negotiation, 2.5, 3 months. With their board, my attorney and their board.
They're tough to deal with, huh?
And there's
You know,
build-out
when you
costs
have an attorney on the
Build
board,
out.
they sometimes tend to make work for themselves, I think, so.
involved. Put in whatever you need in the office.
Not
You can
present company
take down,
excluded.
go in. I mean, there's build-out costs. You do it under a 1-year lease, I think you're wasting your money, then don't bother.
Yeah.
3 years, at least you get some return on your investment of doing the
Yeah.
build-out that's needed in the office.
Yeah, we have to make some leasehold equipment here change. We're adding it for some reason or other, you can't, we need a door where they don't have a door, so we're putting a door and we're splitting the cost on that. They're paying for half of it. So we'd like to get our money back before we move. And it's not fun moving, you know that.
I'll move for approval of the 3-year lease with the guarantee that Mr. Nabokowski's going to give us money before the end of the year with 6 figures. At least 6 figures, thank you.
Whoa, 7 even better.
No, we're not talking.
I'll second.
Anything further? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Come by any time when you have money, Ron.
you just leave it on the podium there. Okay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you're on now.
Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to talk to the board about our negotiations with the steelworkers. That'd be very brief, just an update with some information that you don't have right now. Also, a potential hire at Children and Family First that I want to discuss, and possibly at the county home. Those topics are allowable for executive session under the Sunshine Law, and I would ask that we go into executive session at the conclusion of our regular meeting today to talk about those issues. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same in the County Commissioners meeting minutes of August 25th and September 8, 2010.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve a 1-year insurance policy agreement with Chartis for the HHW Collection Center, and it's in the amount of $10,867.50.
This was reviewed by John Atten. This was her recommendation, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Transit, approve change order 1 to Schreimer Construction Company, North Homestead, in the amount not to exceed $18,100 for asbestos abatement required for demolition of buildings located on Broad Street, Elyria, to be paid from the Transportation Construction Account, no general fund money.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter agreement with Overland City to provide transportation service effective October 4th through December 30th, 2010. Fares are consistent with LCT fare plus a special one-way fare of $1.10 for Overland residents of LMHA facilities who are low income and issued ID card. City will provide $7,500 plus all fare revenues as a match of grant funds in order to support service and no general fund money.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Workforce, designate the Commissioners as fiscal agent for Workforce Development Agency effective retroactive July 1st, 2009 on an annual basis until such time there is another designation.
You have comment, Mr. Cortez?
No, Commissioners, actually, we're doing this now. Job and Family Services have been acting as our fiscal agent, but like most organizations, they've seen some setbacks in their ability to assist us. They've been really great partners, but to alleviate some of the burden on them, they've asked that we take this responsibility back in-house, and we did with our budget department. So this is more housekeeping than anything else right now.
And it goes back to July 1st of 2009.
Correct. We just didn't change the resolution to reflect the change in fiscal agent responsibility.
Thank you. Also move.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Amend Resolution 10626 adopted September 1st, approving and entering a purchase service contract with Workforce Institute for the purchase of one-stop service coordinator, effective retroactive July 1st, 2010 through June 30th, 2011. Said amendment will reflect the amount of said contract is $2,597,251 and contains a 30-day cancellation clause.
And an expansion on this.
The easy answer is I gave you the wrong numbers in the contract last time. So this is strictly a housekeeping on the numbers.
Okay, that's pretty understandable.
I thought I had the final numbers and I had the final old numbers. So we just need to update the resolution to reflect the actual figures.
Thank you. Also move.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Another sheriff receive and file the annual report in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code 311.16 submitted by Lorain County Sheriff's Office of all fines and costs collected by the Sheriff's Office for the year next preceding September 1st, 2010 in the amount of $451,951.33.
Now, if he could just collect all those, he'd be in pretty good shape. Also move.
I'll second, but Sheriff, you want to
Yeah.
talk about this?
Oh, I apologize.
That's
I
okay,
didn't
Commissioner. Good
see
morning.
you.
Good morning.
Actually, these are fees that are collected.
That are
These-
collected.
Yes, these aren't
Oh,
the
then
ones that
you're
are
in good
being
shape,
forgiving.
right?
And that's what I did want to comment. Normally, the sheriff's office is not a money-making entity, but with the civil office, I can tell you, Lieutenant Davis, who is back here right now, and Office Manager Mario Chenis, and the four typists I have over there, they do voluminous work over there, as you know. But these fees, I figured out their salary and benefits about $402,000. Well, we're bringing in $451, so it's more than paying for that office over there. So these are actually fees from, some of the foreclosures and things of that order. But, there's a lot of subpoenas that we deliver. I mean, the volume of work that they do with, executions, replevins, and everything else, it's just, but these are fees that actually been collected to go to the general fund.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, to piggyback on the workforce development housekeeping that was done there, I know that you're aware that we've had a reduction in our overall allocation for dislocated workers and adult workers, and also for our youth services that we've been working diligently to restructure, and hopefully we'll be bringing to you in the next couple weeks. With that said, we're starting already to see an influx of people looking to receive ITAs, individual training accounts, and training services from the one-stop that are not county residents. And we believe that given the reduction in our allocation and the growing need, that we need to enforce a residency requirement before we deliver services. and what they call that is, placing the whole area in priority and then requiring residency to be part of that priority. So I would ask that you pass a resolution supporting those issues, and I will be meeting with the WIB board on Friday to get a resolution from the WIB board. It's not that we don't want to help other folks that are somewhat down on their luck, but right now with reduced dollars, we need to support those here first. A lot of people looking for a lot of services, so I would hope that you would understand that need and support it.
Also move.
I'll second.
Anything further? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
I have nothing additional this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, I would like to request an executive session. I need to discuss one matter of pending litigation and another issue regarding property purchase.
Commissioners report.
Well, last Saturday, I represented all of you at the annual 9/11 ceremony at the American Legion in Amherst, and it was very well attended and a beautiful day. Like I said, this Saturday I'll be judging, and so will Sherry at the Doggy Doo Festival. It should be fun. Next Wednesday, Bob Reese from Goodwill will be here to collect the keys for the vans and start helping out our citizens in Lorain County that are in great need of transportation issues, and I'm happy that Oberlin stepped up to the plate to help us out as well. I did get a release information from Michelle Reichland, who is the director of Fido's Companion, and there's a 2010 spay and neuter initiative for unemployed adopters of the Lorain County Dog Pound. To promote the importance of the spay and neuter program, Fido's Companion Rescue out of Avon, Ohio will sponsor the spay or neuter of up to 25 dogs adopted in 2010 from our Lorain County Dog Kennel by residents who are currently unemployed. Fido has arranged for a free spay or neuter with Lifesavers Spay and Neuter Service, and you can contact the service at 440-282-8335 or on the web at www.petsclinic.com. Proof of unemployment must be provided to the vet clinic at the time of the surgery, along with the 2010 sales receipt from the Lorain County Dog Kennel. And the spay and neuter must be scheduled before December 31st of this year. And this is a really good quote, I think. It says, Fido's has a true understanding that we cannot rescue or shelter our way out of our pet overpopulation, and must ensure spay and neuter of all animals in our county to reduce the number of homeless animals. The Lorain County Dog Pound Spay and Neuter Initiative is paramount in reducing pet overpopulation in our county. Ensuring that dogs are spayed and neutered is one way to significantly impact pet overpopulation in our community. So they want to be a part of the solution to this problem and enhance the pound's effectiveness for the greater good of our community. And they also hope to raise funds in 2011 to continue this initiative and a spay and neuter for many more dogs at our pound. And hopefully our initiative that I had talked about a month or two ago of possibly raising our adoption fees to assure that every dog that's adopted out of our pound will be spayed or neutered. And I believe that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Had the opportunity yesterday to join LEEDCO, the Lake Erie Energy Development Corporation, in a press conference at the Great Lakes Science Center. Mike Challenger, our sustainability person, joined me on the announcement for a developer for the offshore wind turbines. Three-person group has formed a partnership, Great Lakes Wind Energy from Ohio, Bechtel Development, which is one of the largest companies in the world, located out of Houston, Texas, for engineering, construction, and project management in regards to energy, and Cavallo, Great Lakes, Ohio, which is a part of Cavallo Energy. These groups have done over $40 billion in alternative energy projects around the world, per their speeches yesterday. It was a great turnout, but it looks like we're going forward. We hope to have wind turbines in Lake Erie by the end of 2012. I've got one press package, so if there's some way you guys can share it. It didn't get picked up by the locals yesterday, but the plain dealer had it. So I'll leave it up here and you guys can fight over it. End of my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Last evening, Virginia Haynes, co-chair of the West Shore Commuter Rail Task Force, and I attended the first public meeting at St. John Medical Center regarding the alternative analysis study and what commuter rail might do for our three-county area. Tonight, today is the 15th, Wednesday, the meeting is going to be at the Black River Landing at 421 Black River Lane in Lorain from 6 to 8 p.m. And Thursday night, it's going to be at Erie County at their administration building on the 3rd floor. And these dates and times are carried under item number 4 under board correspondence on your agenda if you care to check it further. The meeting lasted pretty much the full 2 hours. There was a lot of discussion. There were a lot of comments that came forth, and a lot of questions were answered. There were approximately 30 people at the meeting, and it was very educational, I thought. Part of the process that we have to go through as we work down the road. And just a reminder of the fundraiser that the Community Alliance is sponsoring on September 29th, Jet Express. We'd love to have you and your money, and we'll entertain you well. Thank you.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board? Don't all come at once. Seeing none, I move that we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the county administrator and the assistant prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
Pedestrian injuries represent the second largest number in motor-related deaths. In the current report by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of the 812 traffic fatalities for children ages 5 to 9, almost 1/3, that's 254, were pedestrian fatalities. These numbers were just very staggering to me in this office. Most of these were from pedestrian crossings, children not educated in crossing streets where there are sidewalks and obviously stoplights, or where there are no sidewalks and there are stop signs. So basically, it was based on the fact that they aren't getting proper education, or they hadn't any education on how to cross streets with sidewalks or without sidewalks. So that's what really got us motivated to look into this and do something about it.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the street safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations, and educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce that.
Most of our workshop was developed and made in-house. Simulated sidewalks, simulated streets. We have actual working stoplights. We have the pedestrian crossing signs that actually work. We have operational railroad crossings. We also have the regular road signs like your pedestrian crossing, your stop sign, your railroad sign. So we have all of these different things that the children can not only visualize, but then we actually interact the children in those situations so they can not only see but they can use these in their learning abilities on how to cross the streets with and without sidewalks. We've had so many good responses back from the children, and of course it's just like anything else with children. When you ask for volunteers, when you're talking in a group of 60 and you can only have 8, it's amazing at the hands that go up. You know, does anybody want to volunteer? Well, everybody wants to volunteer. We make them go over these skills that we're trying to teach them, not only the volunteers but the group as a whole. So basically we have the whole class interacting. So if they say left, right, left, behind you, in front of you once, they say it at least 8 or 10 times before the workshop is over. So we've had many teachers and many principals tell us, and we even had one child that came up to us and said, you know what, Miss Spansky, we were going to cross the street the other day and we remembered, look left, look right, look left. So that was very rewarding. And so I think the repetition, the interaction with the children and with the items in our workshop is very important to them and to us. Before you even go into the safety part of it, they're in awe over the traffic light, and then our railroad crossing signals actually work. So they're just like, oh, ooh. And we get up there and we tell them, and we even give them some trick questions. You know, we'll say, well, we can see that train all the way down the track. Do you think we can make it, because you're fast and I'm fast and we can run? And of course they're very enthusiastic and no, we shouldn't do this. So we teach them that in some urban areas you will not have the gates that come down to keep you actually from crossing, that you may just have 2 sets of tracks, and just because one goes by and the signals stop doesn't mean that another one can't come from the other direction. So we tell them it's very, very imperative that they stay back from the tracks and they wait till those signals stop and to look both ways. And even once those signals stop, to look both ways, and they should never run across the railroad tracks. They should walk and continue to look both ways, because it's not safe and they could fall, they could injure themselves. If they're alone, if they're not with someone, it could be very dangerous, because not only could they injure themselves, they may not have help if there is a train coming, because they are so small. And as you know, some of those tracks are very large, and you're talking in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of those children are very small children. The main thing is that we tell them that only you know when it's safe. You have to make that ultimate decision. So make sure that you know that it's safe before you cross those railroad tracks or a street. One of the other things that we cover in the safety workshop, and it's also repeated in our video, children don't have that perception of the miles per hour. It's very dangerous. And the same thing with trains. We tell them that train could take, you know, forever. It's way down there, but we don't know the actual miles per hour. We decided to use 2 different videos. The first one is geared for kindergarten and 1st grade, and that is Otto the Otto, put out by AAA.
Hi kids! A lot of times you have to walk to get to places. And when you're walking, you have to be especially careful of cars and bicycles. Oh no! Those kids are walking the wrong way! That's dangerous! I'm going to talk with these kids. Down at the clubhouse, they're talking about the safe way to walk on streets without sidewalks.
I say you can walk across the street anywhere you want, as long as you look first. And don't get squished flat by a car. That's a fairly simple way of looking at safety. There are actual rules and laws for walking. Yeah, but the most important one is you don't get squished flat. Who's right, Maggie? Patrick or us?
I guess in a sense, everyone's right. The main idea is to get there safely, but there are some rules to help you get there safely, like don't run out into the street without looking.
The second video, we show 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and it is put together by the National Safety Council along with Honda, and they developed the first humanoid robot.
Hey, Osmo. What's up, Osmo? How's it going? Osmo, this is Michael. Michael, this is Osmo.
How come you dressed in a robot suit? It's not a suit. I'm a real robot. My name, Osimo, stands for Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility. I'm the world's most advanced humanoid robot. I can walk forwards, backwards, and even climb stairs just like a human. So, what's the first rule about crossing the street?
Stopping at curbs.
Correct. First, always stop at the curb. Then make sure no cars are coming. You want to look left.
It's clear.
Then right to see if any cars are coming from the other direction.
That's clear too.
Cars move fast. There might already be a new car to the left. So look left again.
Car coming.
See what I mean?
Okay, he's gone.
Kids love this. They relate to Osmo as well as the younger children relate to Otto, who is an animated automobile. And he tells them about crossing streets. Osmo does the same thing, and he actually goes through with the children and tells them how to cross the street at an intersection with a traffic light, with a pedestrian crossing. He also teaches them how to cross because a lot of children at schools have parked cars. He goes over the issues of how to cross when there are parked cars. So he does a number of different things, how to cross the street when there are no sidewalks. So they both cover the basic skills. One is just geared a little bit more for the different age groups. Our response has been amazing, not only from the children. We have received numerous cards. I have a whole box of thank yous from children from the schools where we have that have participated in our workshop. We've had nothing but a positive response back throughout the communities that we visited this year.
I think it was really nice because they had a real life robot talk to you about safety, and you got to actually do what he said was safe. He said when there are parked cars to make sure there are no drivers in before you cross the street.
I saw that we could like know what to do when there's like cars coming, not to go in the middle of the road so you don't get hurt. You have to look left, right, left, behind the shoulder, and then straight.
If they don't know how to stop at sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to. If they don't know how to cross without sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to do that too, because that's what we learned. I think that it was good because I didn't know that you had the 5 ways, which were left, right, left, and going over your shoulder, and then ahead of you.
I thought that crossing the road was really good for little kids if they don't know what to do by crossing the road.
It's a good idea because, like I said, the kids could walk through the whole process of crossing streets with the crosswalk, without a crosswalk, at the intersection. What happens if you're crossing in between 2 parked cars? Those are things that parents don't teach their kids. They go to Safety Town and they learn left, look right, look left again, and they go. And even my own son, who's a kindergartner, he just did Safety Town, and I still catch him flying across the street. And all I have to do is say, Matthew, remember Osimo? And he stops and he thinks and he does all the steps that he was taught in the video.
It was a great refresher, especially for them, now knowing, you know, what to do and kind of even additional things that they may not have been told or considered before.
Most of the kids did their little safety program back when they were getting ready to go to kindergarten. They start out learning all those safety rules. Then as time goes on, if you don't reinforce those safety rules and keep telling them, just like we do as adults, we think we're safe. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. We can do what we want. We can take a chance and run across the road. And I think this program was very good at reinforcing the fact that even though we're growing up, we still have to be careful. We still have to follow the signs. We still have to follow the railroad crossings, especially around here in Amherst. We tend to have a little trouble with the railroad crossings and kids wanting to play on them. So I think it was a good review. I think it was done in a fun, learning way, and the kids really enjoyed it. We were very happy to have everyone here at St. Joseph's School.
If it saves one life, we feel like we've made a contribution. It's our way to give back to the communities.
As I read I'm used to walking around and pointing stuff.
Okay.
The way it started out, I read a thing in an article in the paper or something about there was a certain senator in Washington that used to fly in and out of Washington. And when he looked out and he'd seen the White House and the Washington Monument and Capitol, and he thought of himself, that's what democracy is all about. But then when he looked out the other side, he seen all across at Arlington, and he realized the price we pay for the freedom we have today. You know, and that. Well, I got to reading that. I got to thinking, you know, it's only right, it's only fair to the men that didn't come home to tell what happened. Their story is buried with them. Under every one of them grave markers is a story that never got to be told.
Right.
They never got to go to school. They never, I mean, get married, have kids and grandkids, buy a house and a car. They gave their life for us. Yeah. That's why I say when you talk about true heroes, they are the ones that are the heroes. They paid the price at 18, 19 years old, so the rest of us, I've had, what, 86 years, follow what I mean? And when anybody talks about it, a hero and stuff, you think back to all them kids that didn't. Now, when we got started, to start this lecture, there were 6 of us went in the thing, as I say. 2 got killed, 2 got captured, and the other 2 was the thing. Okay, we went in the base training down there and took all that training. Come home on a 10-day furlough. And then we got back to camp. They sent us the next day. Next morning we would go over to town and we come back. There's the trucks lined up. Throw your duffel bag in the truck and line up for roll call. Well, then they load us on the trucks. In the Army, they don't tell you where you're going, only where you've been. So, well, anyhow, we ended up at Fort Meade, Maryland. We got up at Fort Meade, Maryland. Now, Fort Meade, Maryland was a distribution where all the different outfits came together to be, it's Fort Belvoir. It's one of the biggest things on the East Coast. They had a museum there and everything. Well, anyhow, we were there a short time and then sent us down to Cap Pantry Avenue near Norfolk. We were only in there a day or so. We worked on the docks, I think, a day or two. Then they loaded us on the ship. This ship here was the A.E. Anderson. It's in that scrapbook.
Okay.
That took us from Norfolk to North Africa.
Okay.
We were on African soil maybe 3 hours, long enough to hold. There's 5,000 men on there.
Wow. Okay.
It was the third voyage. It was a brand new ship. And when we went to North Africa, they lined us up. We come out of there. Here's an old wooden tub sitting there, troop ship. And some of the guys said, "What are we going to do?" Well, we soon found out because they loaded us on it. We got on the troop ship. It was a British Derbyshire, I guess. And it was, the restrooms were nothing, a bunch of old type wooden things with tile running underneath. There were no bunks, there were nothing but hammocks.
Yeah.
When it come time to eat, and they bring out these big loaves of bread, unwrapped, and they cut them open. When they cut them open, the bugs are out.
Oh,
You got to pull the bugs out of them to eat the bread.
Oh, my.
Well, that's what we had there. So that ship, when we at North Africa, when they loaded us on the ship, they had to wait because there was 2 German U-boats ready to sink the ship. They had to get rid of the ship, the submarines, before we could go out. Well, we're on this Derbyshire, British old thing, 5,000 men, I think, on there. That's what we're over. Anyhow, when we're going up the coast, there's destroyers on each side dropping depth charges. And that's the roughest body of water I ever saw. 1 minute you'd see the destroyer, and the next you wouldn't see the destroyer. It just kept going up and down. But you hear them old depth charges going. Well, they took us up to Naples. And Naples is what, I don't know how far from Anzio. But anyhow, we got into Naples that night. And they had, I don't know how many, thousands of these 6-man tents. We got in there that night and they fed us. We were in the tent. Well, when we got to Italy, everybody says, when are we going to get a pass to go to the pass? They're telling us, don't worry about a pass. You go to the beach store. We said, what beach? And we didn't know it because it happened while we were going. Said, you ain't coming back. How long you got to be there? Don't worry about it. You ain't coming back. I said, why? 3,000 men a day being slaughtered. So anyhow, we get up there and at Naples, and like I say, the next morning, they loaded us on this landing craft infantry.
Okay.
Okay. Now you couldn't put 5,000. I don't know how many of them there were, but the one I was on, them old depth charges are taking you up. You get up to the beach, and you go to come out of the ship, and all you could hear is, it sounded like planes strafing the ship. It wasn't a thing. You were scared coming out of there. And what it was the shells from the Akai gun hitting the deck, making all that noise. Okay, we come down out of there, got on the beach, and as we went on the beach, there was bodies floating all over in the water. There had to be, I don't know how many, 1,000 dead bodies laying all over. A good 50 tanks all blown up. Yeah. That was the invasion
from the day
that we missed. And during that invasion, there was a ranger battalion,
Okay.
which a ranger at that time was the key of the Army. There was no special force in that. The Rangers, they're the best trained. 767, only 6 of them lived. They all got wiped out. We get up on the beach, get in there, and we get into this canal. And we're going down through the canal, and we get down so far, and you're stepping over bodies all over the place. There's so many bodies on the beach in them tanks, you can't even picture it on TV, the amount of them. Well, anyhow, we got up there quite a ways in the canal, and the sergeant, he says, start digging in. And me and my big mouth, I says, with what? He says, where's your tools? I said, well, threw that stuff away, you can't fight with that. So he said to me, take 2 men, go down under the beach, under the bridge down there. There's a bunch of tools down there. He didn't know him, so come on, you guys. 2 or 3 of us going down to get enough tools for everybody to dig in along. The canal itself was about 14 feet deep, and we had to dig in along the top bridge. See? Well, we're going down there under the bridge to get the tools. They were there, but they were all strapped to bodies. There had to be, I don't know, 40, 50 bodies piled up under there. I don't know why they piled them, because they're all over the place. Well, anyhow, we dug off the tools off the, pulled them off the back, and we got back up there. I took the 3 of us went down the canal and get under the bridge, and just as we get up under the bridge, the one guy starts throwing up. There's so many bodies,
yeah.
They're stepping all over.
Yeah.
There's been, I don't know how long. Some of them turned almost black and terrible, decayed. Well, anyhow, he's throwing up, and I says, no, we ain't got time for that. We'll all be. Just get these things and get back. So we finally pulled the bodies all off and took the tools off their backs, and we got back up there and we got dug in, and we were there a couple days, and from the canal, that's all open field. No trees, no nothing, weeds and brush, you know what I mean? Yeah. No big trees, grapevines, stuff like that. You could see the Germans and they could see us. We were firing away, and at this one particular place, they had a cement block house there, and beside it was a tank a little ways. Okay. And you kept seeing these Germans running out of the house to the tank. And then back, and as fast as you knock one off, another one come out. Yeah. Well, we finally realized they was using the tank, the radio in the tank, to direct the artillery coming at us. Because there was artillery coming, fire coming. And anyhow, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 days of that. That's when then when the sergeant come up to me, I don't know why, and he come up to me and he says, you know how to fire a BAR? I says, yeah, why? He says, here, and he shoved it at me. I says, where's the other guy? He says, it's funny now, but it wasn't then. He says, he's dead. This is your ammo, man. I didn't even know that guy. So anyhow, I fired about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, firing back and forth, and it's terrible. I mean, you're shooting and they're shooting at you. It's unbelievable.
So if you say 3 or 4 days, you pretty much couldn't sleep for that time, could you? Or did you take turns, or how did you?
Just there. You didn't have no replacement. So then, in the evening, it was dark. The sergeant come up. He says, I got a job for you 2 guys. What? Like I say, you couldn't stand up in the daytime, you get shot. Yeah. And there's no covering or leverage or that. Well, anyhow, he said, follow me. It was dark, real dark. We go out in front of the front lines. There are 2-man foxholes along there. And he says, we got up there, and it was so dark, I couldn't see the other guy, but there was 2 Englishmen in there. Okay. But the one that they pulled on my side, his feet were the size of footballs. The shoes had busted open and dug right in. I know he lost both, if he even lived, said man. But I couldn't see the other one, it was that dark. They put us down in And the sergeant says, one of you guys stay awake at all. We're between the two front lines. He says, one of you guys stay awake at all time. If they go to move, that's when your troop movements are. If the Germans start coming, you open up fire. That alerts the main line. That's the purpose of all these two-men foxhole. So we were in there, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights. And then in the daytime, you got nothing but artillery flying over that. You had to keep your head down, you know. You're out in front of the front lines. And I said to this guy, if my family, people in Wellington knew where I was at, they wouldn't believe it. Here I ain't in the line, I'm out in front of it, see. We were out in front of it for, I can't remember, 2 or 3 nights. And then they pulled us back out. Then the Americans did an attack. There was 4 platoons of us. And when we made the 4 platoons, 2 of them got wiped out and 2 of them went through the lines. We got in through the lines, fighting and all that shooting going on. We get in behind the lines, and all of a sudden, Germans dropped paratroops behind us. So we're running around in the canal. It's dark at night. You didn't get no sleep. You didn't have time to sleep. Yeah. We're going on, the whole platoon of us going down through the canal there trying to find a way. And this Lieutenant Callahan, he kept calling on the walkie-talkie. He said, Lieutenant Callahan, call Elcom. He called Elcom. He just kept it up. I said to the guys, he's going to get us all killed. He's going to keep his mouth shut. Well, he didn't get us killed. He got us captured. Oh, gosh. So when daylight comes, there's 2 machine guns staring us in the face. Look behind us, 2 machine guns staring. The whole platoon down in the canal, 4 machine guns. One guy made a move, all been wiped out. Well, from there, they took us out of there. The guys was laughing at us. And, well, there's something else I wanted to tell you, too. But anyhow, they took us from there to a camp in Italy, a small transit camp called Lorain. Okay. Now, that was the first camp I was in. Small cement block buildings, no glass in the windows, no doors in the door frame. It's the middle of the winter, nothing but straw on the ground. So we were there overnight. They moved us out, and by then there was probably 150, 200 of us, and we're going down this gravel road, and we're coming away from the front lines, and you could see where the Germans had their all dug out for them ahead of time, so when they had to retreat, the foxholes were already dug for them. Well, anyhow, we're going on this gravel road, and all of a sudden, I don't know, 100 to 150 of us, all of a sudden, here come 2 airplanes down, strafing us. They were either Russian or English, I don't know what. They're strafing us.
They didn't know you were...
So when you're on the road and they're strafing, you jump in the thing.
Yeah.
I ended up on top of 2 German officers. I thought, what a mess this is. And the one guy turned around and he looked up at me like that laughing. I said, what the hell are you laughing about? This ain't funny. Yeah. He was happy. Why? Because I was on top of him.
Oh, you died before him.
I was protecting him, see. Well, anyhow, like I said, we finally got to the first camp there at Lorain, and we were there a few days. All they give you was a little chunk of bread the size of a blackboard razor, and it was half graham flour and half sawdust. Yeah. And the soup was nothing watered. You might as well be drinking water. There was nothing to it. Yeah. And out in the compound, they peeled white turnips, and the peelings, they took them out and they threw them in the center of the compound hole. And the Englishmen, they go out there fighting over them scraps to get something to eat. There wasn't an American did it, but I think, I don't know, we weren't prisoner that long. Yeah. You follow what I mean? Yeah. So anyhow, we were there, I don't know, a couple of days, and finally they marched us. From there, we went from there up to the outskirts of Rome. What I wanted to tell you, I have to tell you afterward. When we got to the outskirts of Rome, they locked us up in big, what I call cathedral buildings. Great big buildings, all marble. There's no wood in Italy.
Yeah.
It's all marble. They kept us there overnight or so. And the next time, by then there was probably 300 of us. They took us and they loaded us up on boxcars, the boxcar train. So we ended up at Boxcar, leaving Rome, and we headed to a place called Moosburg, Austria. That's in the camp here. This Moosburg, Austria. That's right next to Dachau, the big one.
Yeah.
It was right next to them.
Okay.
We were there at Moosburg for maybe a day or two.
Were these like work camps, or were these just where you just sat?
Prison camps. No, transit.
Okay.
They were prison camps, but they weren't working.
Okay.
We were there at Stargard, Moosburg, Austria.
Okay.
We were there for a short time. They loaded us up again on boxcars. Now we're in Austria.
Okay.
Whole big line of boxcars. They get us in the boxcars. You're looking out through the slats of the boxcar. All along the rail line is naked, nude bodies hanging all along that rail line. It had to be a good 5 miles.
Wow.
And the reason they did that is to make the civilians, the citizens, cooperate, because if they didn't, the same thing would happen to them. So anyhow, we got there, and we got up to Stalag 2B. That was north of Berlin. That was a big camp. They had over 200 work commandos out of there. And we were there, I don't know, a week or two, and every day you'd see wagon loads of nude bodies being taken out of there and dumped. Every day, a couple of wagon loads. And a lot of them, most of them were Russians because they were dying of typhus and no food, you know. We were there maybe, I don't know, a week or two, and finally 15 of us was sent out to a work commando in Poland. Well, on the way, when we're going out there, what was it from there? Yeah, when we got there, the work commando were up there. We had to cut trees and meter them up. There was 15 of us in this work commando. It was a small building with a fence and outdoor privy there, and just room enough for. It's in that lecture.
Okay.
Old Flag 64, I think it was. And while we was there cutting the wood, I come down with pneumonia. Now, you got 2 guards guarding 15 of us, clear out in the woods, out in the country, away from everybody. They didn't make them guys go out that day. This one guard carried me on his back from the thing down to a railroad track. We got onto a train, and it took us back in the Stalag 2B. We got back in the Stalag 2B, and when I got on that passenger train, then people looked at me as though I was some kind of a monster, you know. And it was a regular, what you call passenger train, real small thing.
Those regular people.
Anyhow, we get up to Stalag 2B, back to where I'm from. They put me in the lazaret, they called it. It was a hospital, the one building in the camp, lazaret they called it.
Okay.
Well, a doctor was a prisoner of war, but he was a doctor. He was in charge of the camp. So he finally got me well. I was in there 2 or 3 days. I had pneumonia real bad. And then they came, and the guard, after I got well, they took me over and they put me in a building. It looked like a warehouse or something, but an apartment upstairs. And there was 2 men, Kuntz from Bayonne, New Jersey, and Belcher was a heavy-set West Virginia guy. They were in charge of the Red Cross boxes. Well, while they got me locked up in this apartment, I'm watching the Germans coming in there, a horse and wagon, hauling Red Cross boxes out. I don't know how long we've been out there working, nothing to eat, freezing, and here the Germans are hauling these red dogs in. Well, the guard took me back to the work commando. I got telling the guys this is what about the camps. We didn't have no thing. Someone said, well, pretend you're sick and go back in there. I said, I don't know if it'll work. You try anything, because we had no food.
Right.
So he took me back in there and got me back into the lazaret again. And this doctor comes in. He said, what are you doing back here? I got you well. I said, I come back here to find out where all them food boxes go. He says, that's none of your business. I said, well, I'm making it my business. Yeah. He says, and we got into it real heavy. He was a captain. We got into it real heavy, and I says to him, we're out there freezing, we got nothing to eat. And I said, where are all them boxes going? Well, what it was, they were black marking the food boxes.
Oh, no.
So he told me, he said, we got in a big argument. Finally, he said to me, you can't talk to me like that. I'm a captain in the United States Army. I said, I don't care what you are. You ain't nothing over here, and if you're what I think you are, you're worse than a damn German. Well, anyhow, he got mad, and he went flying out of there. The next day, in comes this Kuntz and Belcher, the two that are responsible for the Red Cross boxes. And Belcher, he's a great big guy. He sits down on the bed, and Kuntz, he's standing there. He's a small guy. He says, what are you trying to do, cause trouble? I says, no, I'm trying to find out where all them food boxes go. And they started that nonsense. None of your business. I'm making it my business. Belcher spoke up and he said, you ain't careful, you ain't even going to get out of here. I said, I got news for you. I don't think any of us going to get out of here. Well, we got to arguing pretty bad. I was hot-headed. I was I about the size of Rick then, you know. Anyhow, we got to arguing pretty bad, and the next thing I know, here's a German guard come. And he takes me out. He takes me over into a small building made up of small rooms, maybe 5 bunks in a room. We get up to this. It was in the within the thing, but it wasn't a regular barracks. It was a building with small rooms with bunks. Opened the door and pushed me in. The guy across there was sitting there. He says, take that one. It's still warm. They just hauled the other guy out. They were going to leave me there. I wasn't about to get out. Well, it just so happened the Russians were coming in. And the Russians chased us all the way through. The Russians, they're like animals. They're all on dope. So anyhow, they emptied the camp. They put us on these boxcar trains. I don't know how long it was. We started heading west. I never did get back to the commando. We were heading west on this boxcar train. We got to what was Stargard, the third one.
Okay.
The train pulled up there in front of a depot like you had in Wellington and Oberlin small depot. And the one we was in was almost in front of that depot. There was a big Tiger tank parked behind it. And on the other rail was a Pullman car full of Red Cross boxes, marked all red. It was full of German troops. We wondered why we stopped. All of a sudden, there's a big air raid. They blew up everything. They blew up both trains, the depot, damaged the tank, buildings. Well, anyhow.
The Americans did this, or who bombed? Who did the bombing? Oh, you don't know?
Either Russian or English.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it was America. I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know which side was bombing here. It would have been.
Anyhow, they were bombing because they knew there was German troops in the thing. They didn't know who was in the boxcar.
Okay.
Now, you can believe this or not. I tell everybody.
That's fine.
Out of one boxcar, 3 of us come out of it alive.
Wow.
3 of us. One of the bombs, every time a bomb had hit, it felt as though the boxcar went way, you know, you're scared. I mean, you can't get out of there and bombs are hitting. All of a sudden, for some reason, the door blew open. 3 of us come out of it alive. So we're heading down, we're stepping over bodies along the platform. The guy at the front of the depot had like a picture show window. The guy sitting in there with a black suit on, he's all shot up in the middle. we're jumping down over these bodies and we're heading out towards town, and the whole town got bombed up. This one bomb, one building, there was nothing but the front wall hanging on it. There was no roof, no sides, no floor, and up, I don't know, 3 or 4 stories up here, some old woman had to be in her 80s. She's hanging on a windowsill. I didn't know how to get out because all it was that one front wall.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, we got down there a ways, and we were just heading out to get away from there. And we come to this, it looked like a park in the center of the town. Had 3 or 4 entrances to it. It was an air raid shelter. But from the air, it looked like a park. Well, there was only 3 of us. We get in there. We held hands when we got in there, and it was a circular fire and had all bench all the way around. And they closed it up while of bombing. And well, after it was all over with, then they opened the doors again. Got to remember, we're amongst German civilians and everybody. So we had to keep our mouths shut. Of course, they could tell in the daytime, because the clothes we had on, we were captured. This is the only thing we had for 14 and a half months. We had the same clothes when we were liberated. Well, anyhow, after the doors opened to the air raid shelter, we waited about a half hour. And we thought, well, we'll wait a while till everybody's gone, and then we get out. Then we're going to get out and head out of town. This is 8 miles from the Russian front. We head down through there. They didn't hunt us up. They just circled, the SS just circled the town and waited for it.
Oh.
They gathered us up, took us down to another camp there, Stargard.
Okay.
This small camp. Remember, we was in there a day or so, and I remember, you get nothing to eat. You're hungry, you eat, no sleep. And I do remember being out in the yard, and I seen one of these small aerial planes, like out of Botsford's out there, flying around, and my nerves just started shaking like that. I couldn't stop. I knew it was nothing but a plane.
Yeah.
But anyhow, they kept us there, I don't know, a day or two, whatever. I can't recall the amount of time that I was in each camp. Well, anyhow, when we left there, they marched us. There had to be a couple, 300 of us. And when we're marching down, in one particular spot on the farm, one thing my wife always wanted me to tell, and I always forget it. Over there was a farm, collective farms. They had great big barns, and maybe 4 or 5 houses, families. They all worked that one area. Okay. Well, they held us up there that day and took some of us, not all of us, but they took some of us in there. And then in this big barn, and they got shell-shocked Belgian horses. They're bigger than anything you ever seen at the fair. And they got them in these stalls. They're all shell-shocked. They used them for hauling artillery, you know. And they're all shell-shocked. And then the guards, we had to go in. I had to go in and untie them, back them out, and then another guy would take them. And what happened was, for each horse, when you went in there, you had to go in and hurt it, because if they feet on it, they kicked it, it'd kill you.
Right.
Get in there and untie them, and you got to make sure they don't step on you when you're backing them out of there. And as you would back them out, then one prisoner would take 2 horses down to the water trough. After they got at the water trough, great big horses, then there would be another prisoner take each one and bring one back. But while we're watering all these horses, the guards are standing there rattling stuff, making all kinds of noise, and it was steel plating between the stall. They were big horses, see, and everything. It kicked you, it'd kill you.
Yeah.
And they just, but then, I don't know why, I had to untie most of them. I did one time take towards the last, I had to take 2 of them down there to the water trough. My feet never touched, I had a hold of them, my feet never touched the ground. They took me down there, got it, my feet never even touched the ground. From there, we went to the next camp, the fourth camp, which was Greifswald.
Okay.
Now this camp was built around a German hospital. And I was in there for a couple weeks. And every day that they would bring in captured prisoners, non-English speaking. They didn't bother the Americans or English.
Okay.
The non-English speaking prisoners, they'd bring them in, they'd line them up, tell them you fight for Germany, you get 4 cigarettes, bread, and soup. You want to stay alive. If you don't want to fight for Germany, they mowed them down right then. That went on about every day or every other day. I was in there a couple of weeks, I think. And they just shoot them. If they refused to fight, they just shoot them and then load them on the wagons and haul them out of there. Well, while I was there, I remember the one night, 8 of us went out the front gate. I don't know how it happened, but 8 of us went out the front gate. And we stole sacks of potatoes, two guys to a sack, and we brought them back in during the night. I don't know who arranged it, but we got 4 sacks of potatoes, put them in there and buried them under the floor for the guys to eat. Well, while I was there, I ended up with pneumonia again. Now this time, all I remember was crawling across. I was out of my head for 3 days. I remember crawling across the floor, and when I bump up under the bed would be the guy's shoes, and I thought I was in a paratroop plane. I'm out of my head. I don't know what I'm doing. I get to this door, and I open the door, and here it's a bright moonlight night, and here's this building with a big dome on it.
Yeah.
I thought I was in England. Out the door I went. That's all I know. 3 days later, I come out of it, and the guy says, "Well, you finally made it." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You escaped out of the camp." I did, yeah. I was uptown, in the uptown there, and 2 Red Cross nurses, German Red Cross nurses, found me, and they knew I was a prisoner from the clothes I had. They took me back to the camp. I'm out of my head completely. Don't even know what's going on. And the guys told me they put me back in the hospital thing there. The minute they got me in there, I guess I jumped on a Russian. Bed next to me, I was choking him, trying to kill him.
Oh, gosh.
And they finally had to get me off of him, and back in the bed, and this German doctor, come in to give me shots to knock me out. And from what they told me, the one nurse sat at my bedside the whole night. She spoke English. She was able to tell them what went on. She sat at my bedside the whole night, the first night there. And said that German doctor, every couple hours, he'd come in and check on me and do whatever he had to do. I said, "You guys, you're crazy. You shouldn't." But that's what happened there. And I don't know, I was out of it for 3 days. But this was the same camp where they're lining them up and shooting them every other day.
Yeah.
Why
so they're saving you and shooting.
Why did they save me? I don't know.
Yeah.
I said I often thought, the man upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
That had to be, because why would they bother to save my life? Why would a German nurse sit by the name of Hildegard? Why would she sit at my bedside the whole night long? And I'm out of my head for 3 days. I don't know nothing till I come to, and they told me about it.
Yeah.
Well, after we left that camp, I don't know how long I was in the camp. After we got out of there, they started marching us again. A couple hundred of us, 200-300 of us. Keep marching westward. And the Russians keep coming as fast as we're going. They're emptying one camp, they're going in another, see? And finally we come along this one place, and here's this big, what they call Autobahn, big highway.
Yeah.
And they held us all up. Here you could see big black smoke and everything. It was a death camp.
Oh, no.
It was so camouflaged, you couldn't see the buildings. They had, this road went back in there, and there was heavy trees on both sides. It was completely camouflaged. But you could smell it. You could smell that flesh. So they're holding us up a good mile and a half, Jews in striped uniforms with the heads shaved off, being marched in there to be burned up. Now that odor is something you never goes away. It's in your, not only your clothes, it's in your skin for a long, long time. Eyewitnesses that they talk about. Some people don't believe there was a Holocaust. Well, I saw it. A good mile and a half of them going in there to be burned. And they had striped uniforms and the heads shaved down and everything. Well, anyhow, after they passed, we went up, we got to the last camp in Barth, Germany. Now that was an Air Force camp, and that was completely different from the ones we was in. That camp was, the Air Force had priority even in the prison camp. That camp looked like what you see on TV, Stalag, whatever. That's what that camp looked like. Well, at that time, I don't remember how many of us went in there. We got in there, and we're in there a day or so, and finally the Russians come in. They circled the camp, killed the commandant. I don't know what all happened to the guards. They shot them all up and everything. And anyhow, they announced over the loudspeaker and says, nobody leaves the camp. The Russian will not be responsible. The Russian now control the camp. You stay in the camp. Well, Dave Rammer, he's the one fella that got out of the boxcar with me. He spoke 9 languages. He was from down in Texas. Spanish or Mexican, I don't know what. He said to me, I want to go into town and get a Luger. I says, what? I'm going in town and get a Luger. I said, we ain't supposed to get out of here. Yeah. He said, I'm going. You want to go? I said, I don't care. We ain't going to get out of here alive anyhow. We jumped over the fence. The one place where we jumped, the 2 of us jumped over that fence. Here is a middle-aged woman shot in the head. Her gray-haired mother shot in the head. 2 young boys, 7, 8 years old, something like that. They're shot in the head. And a baby in a black collapsible bag thing shot in the head. This woman was trying to get away from the Russians to get in the camp and couldn't do it, so she shot her mother, her kids, her baby, and then herself. Now, I don't know how, that was only the particular spot where we went over the fence. Okay? Well, anyhow, we went into town. And the Russians, they're all over that place. They're all on dope. And I remember one young kid, I don't think he was 13, 14 years old. He's with a machine gun. He's spraying everybody. See, he didn't care who he was shooting. We get down to this building and it looked like a workshop or something. A couple apartments up above it. We go up there. I'm just following Dave. I don't know where he's going. We'd never been there before. We go up the thing. He raps on the door. German middle-aged man, civilian dress, you know. Come to the door. He said, Merkanski, come on in. Well, when we walked in this apartment over the machine shop, there's this 12, 13-year-old blonde girl sitting on the Davenport bawling the beat heck. Bawling, and David says something about it. He says, we're trying to get a hold of the German Luger. The civilian says, you take my daughter back to America with you? I'll give you I'll shoot myself and you have a Luger. Because the Russian, they were all shooting themselves because of the Russian. They argued back and forth. He says, I'll even throw in that accordion. Dave says, we don't know if we're even going to help. He walked over to the bedroom door. He opened up the bedroom door. There's his wife laying in the bed, shot in the head. A teenage girl on each side of her, shot in the head. He shot his wife, his 2 daughters, and in the process of shooting her and then himself when we interrupted. We finally got back out of there. I don't think he got the luggage. We didn't take the girl. I don't think he even got the luggage. We just got out of there. We got back to the camp, and like I say, the Russians had taken over. We was in there a day or 2, and finally they announced all ground. This was an Air Force camp. Said all ground troops out into the compound. We didn't know where we were going. out we go. And the Russian guards start guarding us, escorting us out of the camp down to an open field, quite a ways down. We wondered, now what's going to happen to us now? We're going down this open field. We figured they're going to murder us all down there. All of a sudden I seen 10 B-17s coming flying down. I knew them were American planes. And when Rick says, why B-17, I says, that's probably all they had at the time. That was the workhorse of the Air Force during World War II. When I seen them were American planes, I didn't care about the Russians, Germans, anybody. I made a dash and I jumped in the bottom gun turn of that bomber. And I rode for 6 hours in the bottom gun turn from Germany to Paris, outside of Paris, France, an airfield. Then they took us by truck down through the streets of Paris out to Camp Lucky Strike. When we got to Camp Lucky Strike, and they wouldn't let us come home. They took all our clothes off and burned them, give us all new uniforms, give us some money and stationery to write. That's where them 2 letters come from. They wouldn't let us come home. They said we'd go to England, but they wouldn't let us come home. They thought we were some kind of animals. They wanted to feed us up and get us more normal before we headed home. Well, we were there, I think, 3 weeks, something like that. They finally took us. Now, I do not remember the trip coming home. I only remember one thing. During the trip, it was a 9-day trip. I remember going down in the galley and buying some cartons of cigarettes, 50 cents a carton, for my dad. I forgot, I got 20 of them, I think 20 cartons, something like that. I took the money to give us in France, and I bought them cigarettes. I do not remember the trip coming home. I do remember when we got to Norfolk, everybody screaming and hollering on the deck. We got out of the, down to Norfolk, and we got out of the plane at Camp Patrick Henry. We were only there a day. They put us on a train and sent us up to Camp Atterbury, Indiana. We got up in Indiana, they put us home on a 60-day furlough. I come home on my mother's birthday, and it wasn't a very happy thing, because the night before, all night long, my mother would sit with a neighbor woman, elderly woman. She died about an hour before I got there, but my mother had been with her over there. So then there was a bunch at the house. So then I was there for 60 days. And then I took my dad's car and I went over to Lorain. My brother was working at Isley, taking training to be a manager in Oberlin. And he's behind the counter there. Now, to all of you people that think the war started at Pearl Harbor in '41, it didn't. It actually started in 1933. Hitler took over 7 countries. And of each country, he took over one at a time. He split the families up. There was no families anymore. The men and the boys were forced to be in the army, to fight for him. The mothers become slaves to be in the fields or factories, wherever they needed them. They were completely separated from their families. They were just like slaves. They lived together in groups. 100 or 200 at a place. The girls were forced to have babies to increase his youth movement. Every time they had a baby, they got a strike. They were proud of what they were doing. They didn't know any better because they didn't have a father and a mother. The elderly people had no use for them. They killed them and burned them up. Didn't have any use for them at all. And that started with one country after the other. For 8 years, he took over 7 countries. So when we got into it, his army was made up of men that were forced into the army to either have forced or get killed. They had to fight for him to stay alive. And he controlled it all. He controlled it all, just like slavery. You know, and I saw that. And the different guards I talked to, you know, they were in worse shape than we were. at least when it was over with, we went home to our family. When it was over with, they couldn't go home to their family. There was no family to go to. That's why I say that a lot of these guys, they got to go back over like Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, visit where they were, like in France and D-Day. That's their privilege, but me, I want no part of it. I want no part of that at all, because it's completely, it's terrible. You got to think of your own family being just torn apart. You're gone. And you're a slave to somebody else, and that's about what it all was, you know. So I don't know. It really is so terrible, so fantastic that you can't show it on TV. And when you tell people, when I do the lectures, I actually think to myself, do these people believe what I'm telling them, or do they think that I'm spreading a bunch of BS, you know? But that's what it was. And that went on, what, 8 years?
Yeah.
And what gets me is, how could you take them 8 countries, how could they come back together and be rebuilt?
It took a while.
And the buildings, the reason that I said in the beginning that the reason that we didn't, Russia and Germany and France, they didn't want to go in with us to Iraq because they know what war was about. Their countries are completely torn apart.
Yeah.
Completely torn apart, you know. And they know what war is, and that's why the average guy that was on the ground in there didn't even want to talk about it. You know what I mean? I never wanted to talk about it because I figured nobody would believe it anyhow. And all this, like I said, for 50 years. Then I go into Wade Park. I told you about that.
Yeah.
Go in there, and same thing with her. Why'd you keep it a secret? I said, why a secret? This ain't no secret.
Yeah.
You know, I shoot nuttier than I was. So I don't know. I don't know what else you would want me to say, but it's just unbelievable. And for young people today to think there's glory in it, or proud to be a Marine and all this, that's propaganda. Once they get your name on the list, you belong to them. And you go where they tell you, you go now. I went from 187.5 pounds down to 130. And for a year and a half, nothing but a chunk of bread made out of sawdust and grain flour. The soup was flavored. There was no food. The only thing the Germans gave us was a thin gray blanket. The clothes we wore when we captured, the clothes we wore the whole time we were a prisoner. Now, when I went in Wade Park and they did all them exams, Dr. Fleming was in charge of the POW thing at that time. And not only answering them questions, but they do your feet. They give me 20% on my feet. I walked all over Europe. I says, what am I doing with my feet? She says, within time. Well, you know what happened a year ago? This one toenail, the front toenail, stuck up like that.
Yeah.
I have to go over every 4 months and have him use a grinder to grind that toenail down.
Yeah.
He can't replace it. He says, you can take pills, what is it, 2 a day for a year to get rid of that, but he says it can destroy your, your liver, I think.
Yeah.
He says, so I said, well, what did you tell me about them for? I have to tell you, but he said, I don't want you to take them. That's another, I just had here the other day, one top nail had grown up like my foot. It's been on here, thing. I finally am running around here, and I thought, I can't point with this. I put adhesive tape on it. It's one nail growing up on top of the other. Finally, yesterday, I thought, I got to do something about this. And I started pulling it off, and when I pulled it off, that nail finally come off there, see. But they tell you, like I told you with the fella and that Englishman down there,
Yeah.
see? Now, half of these guys, if you see at Walter Reed Hospital, they come home, they got a half a leg or something. They get 50% disability for that. They spend the rest of their life walking around and things. But when they're in front of the camera being interviewed and they're still in the service, oh, I can't wait to get back, you know.
Yeah.
But they have to live with that the rest of their life. And why? Because of that guy over there that was nutty enough to do it. I don't think of myself that in this country, just like your son, you got a family, you raise them up, you go to school and everything, you want to make a good life for them, they get stuck in that stuff and it gets torn apart. They're showing all this stuff now, these guys coming back, but the guys from World War II and Vietnam and that, they're seeing where all this stuff is coming about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a good share of them, when these guys come back, right now, our Army's got the highest suicide rate there has ever been. And biggest share of them, the marriage comes back, they split up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's understandable.
There's a lot of hidden things, like I said, like with myself, that it don't show. But these doctors that examine you, they know it. You know what I mean? And I don't know, the whole thing to me, that's why I say I don't even talk about it unless I would never volunteer to go do thing. Any lecture I've done because I was asked to do it, see. But I don't try to hide it. I tell it the way it was, whether they believe it or not. You know, but say, like I told you with the boxcar, whole trainload of boxcar thing. You're locked up in there. That passenger train on the other side full of German troops. That railroad station, that tank. Everything got blown up. You know what it feels like to be locked up in a boxcar and then bombs coming down and hitting that thing going up and all of a sudden, boom. You know what I mean? There are so many dead bodies that you see. Rick brought over the tape the other night. A new war, I guess it was. And it was 5 sections. I think he gave John Perry a set of them.
Okay.
And he had me watching it. And the 4th one, I sit there. I was sick, ready to throw up. I shut it off. I went into bed. I was sick from it. And all I saw in that was a few of the bodies.
Yeah.
And when he come, he says, how'd you like the tape? I says, get it out of here. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you show a few on there. I saw them by the thousand. Life, when you go into combat, these guys, I don't care what they try to claim to be heroes and all this stuff. When you go into combat, you're fighting every minute to stay alive.
Yeah.
There's your time limit is nothing. They're just like there with the putting us out in front of them front lines. How many people believe that? No, really.
Probably everybody now.
And everybody would say, boy, he's really got a line. But that's what actually happened. I didn't know the guy, didn't even know the ammo man. I got a job for you two guys. Come out. Get out there. And I said to that guy, I said, this is crazy. We're not only in the line, we're out between the lines. I said, if anybody, my family, anybody in Wellington ever thought I was tell them where I'm at now, I said, they think I'm crazy. But that's how quick it's going to happen. You know, but The amount of bodies you save. Human life is nothing.
Yeah.
But what gets me is why, just like now, you got them guys over there in Iraq.
Yeah.
You think they want to be over there? They signed up for National Guard for a couple of weeks of training in the summer and every other weekend. They're stuck over there. And that's nothing but a turkey shoot. There's only, what, 4, 5, 10 of them killed a day? I think it's 70,000 in 29 days. That's just on the beachhead. That ain't the other places of the war.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It's about all I can tell you.
Okay.